Hello, everyone. My name is John CASH Filippe, and welcome to another exciting podcast of GNL Voice. Today's guest is Tim Branham. He's the Senior Vice President and Chief Technology Officer for Cherokee Nation Entertainment. We're very excited to have him here to talk on our leadership series and give us some insight into his leadership styles, which I'm sure is going to help round out a lot of people's questions and ideas of leadership. But first, let me read from our sponsor, which is Hotel Genie. Discover Hotel Genie and elevate your hotel's guest experience by harnessing cutting-edge communication technology. Whether you're aiming to cut costs or boost revenue, Hotel Genie equips you with the tools to outshine your rivals. Connect with Russ now at 702-820-1400 to experience a tailored, no-cost demo designed exclusively for hotels and casinos. And definitely check them out if you get an opportunity. Hotel Genie is really making some headway into the industry like they have for many, many years and growing by leaps and bounds. So talk to Russ if you get a chance. All that being said, Tim, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. Thanks, John. So I'm a roughly 30-year veteran of technology. After a career in the military, split my time between leading large service organizations for companies like Siemens, SunGard, Fujitsu, and then also in several C-suite roles for companies like Fujitsu as global CIO for Fujitsu's a public automotive services company, and then of course my time here at Cherokee Nation Entertainment. During COVID, had a business of my own for a couple of years, helping executives to weather the storm and make good decisions during those times.
That's awesome. So, oh, you bring a few really cool things to the table because you have that military background. I do too, so I'm always very happy. And by the way, thank you for your service.
Thank
Uh,
you.
I love that because you're very usually us military folks are very set in the way we do things, but you also bring that outside perspective, Fujitsu and the other commercial other non-casino companies. So that's a real plus for the industry and a great different perspective. So that being said, what do you believe makes a great leader?
That's a tough one. It's. I think it's different for a lot of different people. I come from the philosophy that I don't think leaders are easily made. I think a lot of them are born. Definitely saw that in the military. You can send someone to lots of schools, and you can elevate their abilities, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a good, strong leader. So, strong communications skills, ability to make complex solutions, complex decisions seem simple, being able to really relate to business people. So in my industry, if you're going to talk tech, you better talk tech in business terms so that gaming commissions and your business operators understand what it is you're saying. And I think, from my background, it's always pushing organizations to think bigger, think innovative, breaking those comfortable norms. And that's not easy in this industry. This is an industry that sort of kind of post Acres gaming sale, a lot of the innovation sort of slowed. So innovation in gaming, innovation in hospitality, innovation in retail. So a lot of the things that we're doing, with cloud, with big data, with AI, are taking a lot of those lessons learned that I brought from, really the commercial industries and applying them here in a way that works well for the tribe, but also works in this industry.
No, that's great. I mean, I was making a lot of notes while you were talking because you're absolutely right. I mean, we've fallen behind a little bit, I think, in our industry, in the casino industry. So it's always a good thing to have somebody like yourself, driving that. Um, so you said thinking bigger and moving the needle. What type of things do you see uh, that you're really kind of playing with out there?
Well, we're in that growth mode. You probably know the landscape. We're in a tribal casino, so the landscape in Oklahoma, there's more than enough casinos in the state of Oklahoma. So, in our growth mode, we acquired Gold Strike from MGM last year, and we are on a growth mode. We are looking at both building a ground up property in Arkansas as well as other commercial casinos. So a lot of my time and effort has been around helping our organization prepare for that growth. So what does that look like? So, obviously, if you're going to bring on another operation, likely they're going to have a different gaming system. They're going to have a different hospitality system. We don't want the systems to necessarily be the reticence to enter into a transaction. So we have to be prepared for how do we get the data? How do we have a loyalty system that sort of transcends what those different companies are, and be able to very quickly onboard those patrons and get them our offers and make them loyal to our overall company. We're looking at the casino gaming data. How can we really leverage advanced analytics and player development and some of the tools that we have both built and have acquired that can aggregate that view of player, that view of their tier across multiple properties. So again, I think it's bringing that mindset of there's so many different commercial companies out there in different industries that have been very acquisitive for years. We're in that fortunate stance where we can continue to grow and continue to buy. Technology's role in that is to become an enabler, not an inhibitor. So when we go to the table and we're doing due diligence and we're looking at the potential acquisitions, we want to make sure that we're not saying no. We're saying this might take a little bit more time. But the majors, we need to have a 30, 60, 90-day plan to be able to ramp up very quickly on the things that are core to our revenue operations.
I love that. That's great. I mean, you're really taking the bull by the horns, and that's awesome. Uh, that being said, since this is a leadership series, who inspires you as a leader?
Well, lots of different people. I've had lots of good mentors in my career, fortunately, that have played a very big role. I think my faith inspires me and is a big part of who I am and what I do. Making others successful. That truly to me. I read a good book, great book years ago, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. And it was a lot of it was patterning after General Schwarzkopf, who served under in the first Desert Storm, who was always given the worst commands. And why he was successful was he always created a legacy of leaders. And so he would look at his command staff. He would look at those that he knew would step up and rise to the occasion. He would look at those who he knew wouldn't, and he would make those changes quick and early, and then pour all into his command staff. And by the time he left, it was always best in the Army. And so I have to think the same way. I can't ever be a single point of failure. I have to look at all of my direct reports and think, how do I make them the best at what they do? How do I inspire and grow, my succession plan so that we are always strong, regardless of what the company's doing. So I think those are some things that drive me probably more than anything. I just love problem solving. If you're going to be in this role, in this seat, you have to love problem solving. It's very easy to get overwhelmed by the responsibility and all the different departments and all the different technology, hundreds of applications and different sites. We're multi-site, multiple casinos, multiple hotels, multiple jurisdictions. You can let that overwhelm you, or you can find that as an opportunity to rise above that and simplify your technology so that when you get ready for growth and scale, that you're ready for that.
Yeah, and I like that you brought up Storm and Norman. We all admired him, especially during Desert Storm and us
This general
vets.
norm.
Well, now, did you, in your own world, decide to become a leader, or were you thrust into it? The military, I know, thrust a lot of people into leadership positions, but did you actually make the steps to head that route, or?
Kind of back what I said earlier. I think part of it, quite frankly, is I've always felt like I was born to be a leader. In the military, you start off, you're just a buck private. You're kind of below pond scum, right? And then you got to work your way up. But very quickly, becoming, whether it was a stick leader, team leader, squad leader, you get into, like special operations, and then you have specialties, and so you have a specialty in different disciplines. And then you get into different units, and those units have different specialties. I think everywhere I've gone in my career, I was never good enough to just be that individual contributor. I'm always looking at people around me saying, how do we solve this problem? You can always solve it more together. And you can never learn that anyplace better than the military. Walk around with a telephone pole and six guys, you learn that no one person, can do what you can do with 5 or 6 people. Now take that in, 100, 150 people. It's I kind of pound that message into my staff all the time because I get this. Sometimes you get this, sort of we're a little defeated. This seems really tough. It's a big headwind. Yeah, but we have 100 people, 150 people. There's nothing we can't overcome. You just have to change your mindset. And so I think, again, I think born with that. Wasn't like my parents were like leaders of big corporations. And my dad was in research and development at Rubbermaid years ago in a small town in Ohio. My mom was a homemaker. It really just came out of the experiences I had sort of once I got out of school.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's great. I think everybody when they get into that and they start doing any type of leadership role or taking a they get lots of advice. Some good, not so good. It's on both sides of the fence. What great advice did you get when you actually took on your first mantle?
I think some of the best advice I received was from a mentor of mine that I worked for at Siemens and then later at Fujitsu. Be the example you want to see in others. And that can be really convicting. I look back at times when I thought I thought I was there. And then he was able to very professionally and politely and personally show me that I wasn't and show me how I could have been a better version of myself. And then what others saw, if I, one good example, which is a really funny one, was I was leading a big PMO for a change for an oil company in Oklahoma. And I was back in my sort of cube office and I had my feet up on the desk. And he rounded the corner and he saw that and he says, "Oh, no, you can't let people see you with your feet on the desk. That is not setting the right example." And it's the simplest of things, right? It was a tough day. It was sort of the end of the day. I thought it was something, not that big a deal. But if it was that big a deal to him, it was a massive deal to me. And I've never done that ever since. And so that's one of those things that kind of sticks in my head. So I think that, be the first in, last out, especially when you're, starting with a new organization. My first year here, I don't even know how many hours I put in here because it was really critical for people to see that, this wasn't a 9 to 5 job. I really wanted to understand and learn. I needed to learn deeper into the industry. I needed to learn the culture, which was massively important here at Cherokee Nation. So that it wasn't just the technology experience I was bringing. I needed to meet them sort of where they were. And that took a lot of time. And I think that probably the last would be your own PR firm. And when you got to be a little careful with, that doesn't mean bang your chest and say, "Look at me." It means don't just assume everyone knows the good work that you're doing or the good work that your team is doing. You have to find ways to subtly promote your team, to promote your department, to promote your division, and to make sure that they're being recognized. We have some superstars here, whether it's information security or infrastructure or delivery team, our AV team, and you could just overlook because you just expect them to be heroes. But finding opportunities to get their wins in front of the leadership team, get it out on the floor, anything you can do to sort of put a spotlight on them, it pays back.
Yeah, and I've actually had some experience with your team, and they are superstars. You've got a great team over there, and very impressive. Uh, yeah, and I love that you bring that up because it's so important to work on that culture. It's so important to uh, be your PR firm, as you put it, to sell the team. Because I think we spend more time in our jobs selling our team than doing what everybody thinks we're doing. We're actually
Right.
selling the people who support us. So it's great that you bring that up. Now, if you had to just go through the different styles of leadership, there's a lot of them, autocratic, bureaucratic, diplomatic, you know, laissez-faire, and quite a few others, visionary is another one. A lot of people, what do you tend to be strongest in? I mean, I know we all have to do a little bit of each, but what's your go-to?
That's interesting. I kind of struggle with that one a little bit. So I'd say visionary because that's my responsibility. It doesn't mean that I'm some oracle and I can predict everything that's going to happen, but visionary in that it's my responsibility on behalf of technology to be the visionary for what's possible with technology in our company. And it's a really big responsibility. You have to constantly be researching. You have to spend time with, vendors and then potential partners out there in the industry. So I'd say, I don't know, visionary with a splash of servant. That would be my leadership style. It's one thing to be, all heady looking for the next great thing, but you also need to be sort of at the same time running the business. You need to be there with your people. You need to understand the challenges that they're really going through. The vision and the plan that they sort of hired me here for, it was taking the benefit of all of the experience I'd had coming into here, but I needed to take that and I needed to map that with the culture of Cherokee Nation and understand how I needed to change my style. For example, you just can't push and make change happen. It's a much slower adoption period for lots of reasons. One is change doesn't happen that fast in this industry, just in and of itself. Then you have the regulatory environment, and then you have tribal versus commercial. And so really unpacking those things, you could put together the most perfect project plan and you can have the technology completely ready to go and all up and running and live in your lab and you're ready to hit a button and it just goes out in production. But you have to do your PMPs, you have to do your user acceptance testing, you have to have the business completely on board. The commission has to be able to see it and see all your evidence. And there's so much more that you sort of have to add to get from your idea and your vision to a change sort of in the wild and the business benefits of that change. So that's why you really need that mix. You got to be willing to get down and dirty and be part of that change, but you have to be able to educate and bring the vision so that you don't just stay where you are. And I think that's a challenge probably for everybody in my position right now. But it's also the challenge why I came here. Fortunately, I work for a leadership team and a president of this company that is all in on technology. Technology runs this business, and he knows that coming into every meeting. That doesn't mean I have any more pull or say than anybody else, but it does mean that he's always looking for how do we leverage our investments in technology to make us, put us ahead of the crowd. And I love that. And it's been, 30 years in the making to work for somebody that is that sold out on technology and a supporter of us. I think that is the X factor that we have at Cherokee Nation.
That's awesome. I can't say that enough because Cherokee Nation is, well, it's for lack of a better term, the 500-pound gorilla. You guys are just all in and going on full steam, and it's great. So, what do you see as your personal secret sauce for leadership? I mean, what that kind of helps you with the responsibility of leading a team? What is the secret?
It definitely starts off with what I kind of where I just came from, which is that having that executive sponsorship, having that understanding at the top. I mean, that's why I'm here. If I took a look at the organization and technology was pushing boulders up a hill, I probably wouldn't be here. But having spoken to our president and spoken to our senior leadership team, I knew that understanding and that support at the top was here. That was absolutely critical. Then it was our business owners. I spend a lot of time with the business. I think a good part of that comes from the consulting part of my background, but it's absolutely critical that I have a thorough understanding of what are the challenges food and beverage is trying to solve. What are the challenges that finance is trying to solve, or gaming operations, or EVS, and spending that time makes all the difference in the world with what I recommend to them.
Awesome. Well, we're down to pretty much the end of this. So let me ask you one final question. Any advice you have for somebody who's starting to lead a team?
It's interesting. I think I had I said this to my all of my team in an all hands meeting just recently. IT is not for the faint of heart. So you have to you need to have thick skin. You need to be up for a challenge. I think this is why it plays so well to military is you really have to be willing to see it through to the end, to see the actual outcome. It's one thing to enact change, enact technology change or business change, but to see it through to the end to where you actually see the business benefit, not enough people see it through. That's why I don't remember what the statistic used to be. CIOs and CTOs lasted 18 to 24 months. And I think if you have the right vision and strategy, you have the right support, and you have the right team, and you're constantly pouring into all three of those, there really is no limit to how long you could be with a company. So I think it's the type of team you're leading, whether you've been with the team for a short time, whether it's a new team. If it's a new team, I would engage in a lot of planning, building, designing, making sure that that new team is part of the change in the plans within your department, so they don't feel left behind. If it is an existing team or a long-time team, sometimes it's there's some simple tools. Take Peter Lencioni's five dysfunctions. Take one of those tools that have been out there forever. Try that. If that doesn't fit, try something else like that. There's a lot of proven success out there. Doing personality profiling. I know it sounds a little heady, but if you know that conflict management is not one of your strengths, well, you need to also see what kind of leadership team you have around you. Do you have somebody in your team that has enough empathy and enough experience that might be their strength? Well, that's somebody you can leverage. You got to leverage the strengths and weaknesses of your team. You can't be everything to everybody. I think any leader that tries to be that just all-encompassing everything leader, they are going to burn out. It's just not scalable. It's not long-term. So you really have to play. You have to understand the team that you have, and you've got to give everybody a chance in the environment to flourish. And I hope that's what I've done here.
That's fantastic and great advice to actually for everybody watching. Well, everyone, thank you for tuning in to Gaming and Leisure Voice. We've been speaking to Tim Branham with Cherokee Nation Entertainment, and until next time, look forward to talking to you all again. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, John.